Welcome back, Sam. Eat Sleep Business from Plus 24. I've got an apology to make first off, because I've just been told off because of the sound drops when I move my head. So I have a nice Yeti microphone which does everything I need it to do except when I move my head away from it. So
it can't follow you around, unfortunately.
I'm going to try my best on this week's episode to make sure the mic is in the correct position. So we'll do that. So good week so far.
Yeah, really good. The sun's shining, 30 degrees today. So
amazing. Yeah, we should let people know that this we don't record the podcast on a Friday. We release it on a Friday, and today is Wednesday. So the sun is shining. I only have one window in my office at home, and it's up on the roof, and so I can see the light shining in. But I might have to go out for an outside lunch today, I think. Cool. So I think there's some really interesting things happening. So obviously last night the man that is announced some more relaxations of the lockdown, and the social distancing rules is relaxed, and he's encouraged certain businesses to open back up. We've got bars potentially opening on the 4th, and lots of stuff happening there. And we're not going to get into the rights and wrongs of that, whether you think it's right or wrong, or whether it's too soon, or it should never have happened in the first place. But it does have an impact on business. And one of the things that had an impact on our business straight away was the fact that we needed to work from home. Now, it seems so long ago now, Sam, but you remember we were pretty early adopters of the whole home working thing.
Yeah, I suppose before it was a mandatory measure, we went early. Thankfully, our business is pretty flexible, and we could either pick up laptops or move a Mac home, or whatever it might have been. And a lot of us, within like hours, were set up on our home working setup. Compared to a lot of businesses, we are very fortunate in that. But I think it's more than just setting up a laptop or setting up a monitor. And that's what I suppose we soon realised, because we've not really worked from home for long periods of time in the past. We all did a day here and there, but it's never really been a permanent fixture. It's kind of thrown up a whole load of new challenges and questions that we've had to answer, I suppose.
Yeah, and you're right, we were early adopters. So early, in fact, that the BBC invited us onto BBC Breakfast, just to throw that clang in there. And I remember one of the questions that Nina asked me at the time when we were over at Whatmore, which is where the BBC had gone, and we were discussing. She asked me, "Do you think you've gone too early? You know, what you were?" And we've recently made the decision to extend our homeworking up until the end of 2020. Which is a decision that some people have been quite surprised at. Others, I'm sure, are in a quandary as to what to do if they're still working from home. I'm sure there's others that have made similar decisions to us. And so I think today let's cover that, and because we were in a fairly unique position in that we're able to work from home, and we already offered flexible working, so people were well versed at doing time at home, but everybody, generally speaking, spent some time in the week, at the office. So let's have a chat about some of those challenges, how we've overcome them, the challenges we see moving forward as well. We're effectively going to have spent the majority of this year without seeing anybody in person in our team. I know that we've bumped into each other occasionally from a distance at the office when we've had to pick things up occasionally and whatnot, but it is pretty weird only seeing people via a conference call, and obviously some members of our team don't like the whole camera thing, so we don't even see their faces in some circumstances. Sam, do you want to take us through the steps that we put in place really early on? Because I think we were pretty proactive, weren't we? But that kind of, it's not easy to sustain that.
No, and I think one of the biggest things is communication with this. Obviously, it was new to a lot of people. There was anxiety around the whole COVID situation anyway. So add to that home working and just being left at home by yourself all the time. It was pretty drastic. So we straight away we use something called Slack, which is a workplace communication tool. You might have heard of, and on that we do daily stand-ups. So everyone on the team joins the daily call. We discuss kind of what we're doing that day, what challenges we're having that week, and how people can work together to get through stuff. But also it's just that personal communication, like particularly those of the team that maybe live by themselves or are missing girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever it might be. It's just being able to chat to someone every day, and they don't have to come on camera, but the majority of us do. And it's just a bit of interaction, I suppose, to start the day and try and inject a bit of positivity. So that was kind of one end of the day. But then I think within a few weeks, you start to realize that it's pretty hard to get through 5 days a week, 9 to 5 at least, with that same level of energy. And you don't kind of realize how much interaction you have within the office, I think, day to day. Obviously, you don't just have that daily stand-up. You're chatting to each other when you go and have a brew, or, you bump into each other in the corridor, whatever it might be. And you've got stuff to break up your day. Whereas, I found myself, you have the daily stand-up. I probably didn't move until lunchtime, unless I went to maybe get a drink or something. And then suddenly, end of the day, you're getting hungry again, and you go for tea. And that's about all I was doing in my day. So we had to try and do something just to try and get some routine and break up people's days, I think. So we put something in 3:00 every day, another call. Obviously there's not much you can do. But it was just a brew and bullshit call. So it was like that mid-afternoon brew. Everyone can just join that chat, and we won't talk about anything to do with work. Just, what you're watching on Netflix, what you might be doing at the weekend and stuff like that. And just to try and bring some balance to people's lives and try and break up that day so it wasn't just so rigid and intense, I think. So they were kind of two easy things we did, which I think, have stuck around and we're still doing. But then there's some of the other stuff that we did as well, like kind of more special things. And week to week, we have a team meeting each Friday. On the end of the day on Fridays, we try and do something kind of fun, like whether it's pub quizzes or random games, Pictionary, whatever it might be. I mean, early on, particularly, we had some great ones with Jason, the magician, joining us. So he did a live magic show for us, all through Google Hangouts. We've had some great stuff, and I think it's kind of made everyone step up the game a bit and plan some fun games. And it just means that we can all switch off, celebrate kind of the success of the week, and hopefully, switch off for the weekend and then relax. So that's been a big part of what we've done, really. To get the interaction going.
Yeah, and I think we did really well with that, particularly in the beginning, and we sent out some care packages to people. When groceries were a little bit difficult to come by, we used some trade suppliers to get out some care packages to everybody. Not that they needed it necessarily, but it was just a nice touch, get some nice fresh ingredients and some weird and wonderful stuff as well that you might not normally buy from the shop. So we did a lot to try and keep people's sort of mental state in a good place and motivated to work. We bought a book for everybody. Start with Why, which is a big book that me and Sam are a massive fan of. I'm a fan of anything Simon Sinek, to be honest. I think he's a great guy. So we did some interesting stuff like that. And in the beginning, it was interesting when we kind of rallied the troops and said, look, right, we're all going to go and work from home. We don't know how long it's going to last, but, probably a couple of months, you're estimating that. And there was a genuine buzz within the team. I think when we first started doing that, we had like a couple of trial weeks, didn't we, where the majority of people were off, but we still had some skeleton staff in the office. And so we were pretty well prepared, I think. And there was really enthusiasm. But what we didn't account for is perhaps how the energy would start to drain a little bit. And you started to see people getting a little bit tired and perhaps less enthusiastic than they were at the beginning, maybe joining in less with the, with the social side of stuff that we were hosting. And I think that wasn't just a work thing either. That wasn't just being stuck to working from home. I think that was the really bizarre situation that everybody was in. But that was difficult as leaders in the business, to try and work out what to do to inject that energy. And I think we've had, since we realized there was a drop in energy, we inject a bit of enthusiasm, but then 2 or 3 weeks on, it there's a flatness, and I feel that as well. I think personally I buzz off people and being around people, and I think I miss that element of it. And whilst I think we've made the correct decision to continue working from home, and we'll talk about why we made those decisions in a few minutes, it does, I am sad that I'm not going to have that energy with the team. And one thing that I think you can do when you're present with people is you can come into a room bouncing on energy. You've just won a sale, and people feed off it. They can feed off the atmosphere. There is no atmosphere via a Zoom call. I can tell you this now. There is no atmosphere on web calls. In an office or in any location where you're physically spaced, or whatever, where you're in the physical presence, you can feel the energy. You can feel the atmosphere. You can feel a shift in atmosphere. Sometimes good, sometimes negative. Fucking coming off a phone call that's been a negative phone call. And if you or I have that, Sam, the whole office will feel that if it's been a negative call. And and so it's amazing what being in the presence of other people can actually do to inspire or motivate. And we don't have that. So it's not, I don't think we're ever going to be able to replicate that remotely. Would you agree?
I think so, yeah. I think once you've done something like face-to-face, so if you host an event, I think you can maintain it online for a bit, but I think you'll always need those physical, like face-to-face meetings in between to inject it. So and it might just be because it's been such an intense period of this. Like, realistically, you would hope we never have to do this again for such a long period of time. Because I think remote working works really well, and people are productive, better work-life balance, all sorts of things. But I think having those regular meetings face-to-face, just to shake things up a bit, just like this kind of shook things up initially, this is now the norm. So everyone's kind of bored of it to an extent. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think getting that face-to-face injection of energy, then remote working in between is absolutely fine. It's great as a balance, but I think it's just because it's just been so intense for a few months. It does drain you, doesn't it? I think at the end of the day,
it does, and I think there's something more draining about having a web conference call than there is in person. I genuinely think it's more tiring being on a web call. Maybe your eyes have to concentrate more. Maybe it's a strain on your eyes. Who knows what it is? But I do find it more tiring, and I find it less easy to get to get people excited. I am fortunate, I think, in that I can inject some energy into a room when I feel like there's a fall in that energy and it needs a bit of enthusiasm injecting. That is something you can do when you're in person, but you can't do that over a call. I've tried and it just falls flat because they don't sense the tone. They don't get they can't see your energy in the same way. So I think, we've done loads of great things with team meetings, and the morale is good in the team. I just saw myself looking away from the mic then, sorry. So the energy is good in the team, and the morale is good, but it does fall flat, and we have to just keep revitalizing that. So let's therefore, I just want to skip ahead 6 months, Sam, and kind of, I don't think we'll ever go back to being 100% office working. We had flexible working, but it wasn't, it was a choice thing, whereas I think it will be more utilized moving forward. So whilst we're not going back to an office until the new year, we do intend to go back to office working, but it will be a balanced one. It will be much more, I think, a mixture of working from home and office. There will always be.
I mean, I personally always felt that I should be in the office if I wasn't at a meeting. I didn't really ever work from home unless I had like a plumber coming around or something.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I always felt like I couldn't help the team or be there for anyone if I wasn't physically there. But this has completely switched that. You know, Slack. We always use Slack, but I just felt like I had to be there and had to show my face to make sure people knew that I was working and stuff. I don't know what it was. I think a lot of people felt the same way. So this has kind of woken us all up, I suppose, made us all realise that it is possible to be productive at home. It's forced us all to sort the setup. You know, I've got a great setup now at home. I won't be working at a dining table if I ever do it in future. You know, I've got the monitors, I've got the desk set up. It's great, and I think it's made us all realise that there is potential there, and it's nice to have that balance ultimately.
Yeah, I think so. So our goal moving forward in 2021 will be, you know, we've outgrown our existing offices, beautiful offices, great surrounding, but, you know, it would have been impossible to go back and keep to the 2 meter distancing, even though that's been relaxed now. But so that was one of the contributing factors to the decision. But, you know, when we go back, it will be more based around flexible working. And, you know, my vision is that we'll have different types of workstations. So it may be that everybody still has their own desk, but we'll have different workspaces to, you know, to suit whatever mood that you're in. And one thing that I've found is that actually you can get bored of just sitting in the same place. And sometimes you need to go and, you know, stand up, or you need to go for a walk, or you need to go and sit on a sofa. So that's, you know, we've seen it in some of the big companies' offices, haven't we, where they've got the different working environments, and, you know, you get up and have a wander to, depending on what your thought process is. And I just thought it was a bit of a fad, to be honest. I always thought it was a bit of a kind of a bit of a marketing trick to make sure that you get the best employees. But actually, I think there's probably value in it, having been forced to work in this environment and, you know, needing to feel like I need to mix it up a little bit. So yeah, so we're going to do that in the new year. We've got a lot of work to get to there. We haven't got our new offices sorted yet, so we'll work on that. But I want to just talk about the reasons as to why we've taken the decision to work at home. A lot of our associates, friends, colleagues, competitors have started to at least drip feed back into the office, if not kind of pretty much fully back at the office. And we've got some people that haven't gone back at all. And there's some fairly obvious reasons. If for anybody still in this quandary as to whether to go back or not, you know, I mean, firstly, imagine all of the health and safety you've got to do. So we'd have to put stickers on the floors. We'd have to put screens up around desks. We'd have to move the offices around logistically to make sure that everybody could sit at a comfortable distance. You know, the boardrooms would have to have a maximum number of people to ensure that we could converse at a distance. And so there's a huge amount of logistics there. So my thoughts are, well, we are working at home. The morale seems to be pretty good. Everybody's on board. Let's just not take that hassle on and that extra cost involvement of setting that up, but more so the time involvement and the thought process. And, you know, we're busy. Like we've got to navigate our way through coming out of COVID-19. And that's where all of our energy should be. If we have to put in energy into anything else right now, you know, health and safety procedures, you know, around the office and stuff, and buying new equipment, changing processes, putting restrictions on who can be in the office and a timetable and a you know, all of that sort of stuff. It's taking energy away from the core goal, that is come out of COVID-19 in a really strong position, which we're fortunate that we are doing that to date, but we're not complacent in any way, shape or form, that we need to really work hard to ensure that we excel on the other side of this situation. And, you know, there are going to be, sadly, lots of victims, companies that don't make it the next 6 months. We need to ensure that our business is one that does make it, but not only make it, comes out really, really strongly. And we'll do that. And we'll do that because we're putting the efforts in, and all of our focus is on that. We're not worrying about any of these little things.
And that's within the team as well. So yeah, from the business as a whole and the organisation of it all, but the stress that it puts on people and the changes that are going to come over the next few months. We've already seen it go from 2 meters to 1 meter. So everyone that's set the shops and offices up for 2 meters, now we've got to change all the stickers and rejig things. And like
and I think
around it, like just if we can avoid it, why wouldn't we?
Nail on the head. I think the fact that the politicians are suggesting that these are the measures that we're relaxing, but we may yet reverse them. So there's a huge level of uncertainty around it all, and what we've given our team is complete clarity. For the next 6 months, they know exactly where they're at. So and we will support them in their workspace and environment. So if there is a need for we have loads of equipment at the office still. So if there is a need for a chair that they need, to sit more comfortably, if the space doesn't quite work for them, they need different equipment, we can help them with that because we know that we're in it for the next 6 months. It's not a temporary measure. And by the way, we made this decision, 2 months ago, maybe more, that we were going to work until the end of the year because I wanted to give the team clarity as to exactly where they were at. So everybody knows, they know what they've got to deal with, and they can prepare their minds to that. So I think that was a really important decision for us as the business leaders, and also for the staff, to give them clarity and a sense of strong leadership. There's they know that we have this situation mapped out and that we are making strong and sometimes difficult decisions, but that will give them the confidence that they need to know that we're dealing with it effectively. And the other side of it, if there is any risk, as small as it is, of an infection spreading within the office environment, why take it? Why risk putting some of the members of the team at risk in the office when we know we can work effectively from home? And that's the point. I think there's a lot of businesses that could continue to work from home that have made the choice to go back, whether it's a lack of trust with their employees, whether it's a lack of performance, who knows what it is. But for me, I trust my team to get on with it. If we do have issues where we're not performing as well, we feel like we can talk about it and we deal with it. And we don't have to be face to face to do that. So I miss it, and I can't wait to get back to the office and have some team banter. So in between now and then, Sam, we've decided that we're going to have a team meeting in a couple of weeks, I think, where we'll get the whole team together. We're going to hire a big conference hall so that we can easily spread out. We'll be probably more than 2 meters apart, maybe 3 or 4 meters apart, and we'll do some really important presentations. And that's really where I feel we're going to be able to inject some energy into the team.
Yeah.
And people will start, we'll get some friendly banter going on that day. And I think that's going to be really important. And perhaps that will be a monthly occurrence between now and the end of the year, because we can do that safely. We don't have to put precautions in place. The conference centre will have taken care of all of that. All we have to do is hire the room and get people there and put a couple of presentations together. So I think that's one thing that we'll put together. And I think that'll help the team.
Yeah, I think it is just breaking up the monotony of everything, isn't it? Like, say, remote working, home working works really well, but it's just when that's the only thing, it maybe becomes a bit more difficult. So, yeah, I think getting together face to face will break it up, get the energy going, and then kick everyone on for the next month or so.
Yeah, I think so. And I think instead of us going back to the office mostly and working from home a little bit, what we're going to do is we'll do it the other way. So it might be that we have the odd, planning meeting in a park, where we can do that safely. So we might start to introduce some of those conversations that we've been having online. We may start to encourage some of those to be done face to face in an environment where we can do so without having to think too much about restrictions. So on days like today, there's no reason why we couldn't get. We're lucky in that most of us are relatively local. So within 15-20 minutes of drive, the majority of the team could be together. And so we might start doing some of that. So I'm looking forward to that element of it. and also planning for the office in the new year. But yeah, that I thought today would be a good time as ever, obviously with more businesses opening up, for us to go through our thought process. And I have had some people be really surprised that we're not going back into the office, but for us it was a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it seems to be working well. So it'd be interesting to kind of find out from other people what their plans are and why they've made certain decisions. So yeah, let us know in the comments on the relevant platforms. Are you going back to the office, and why you've made the decision either way?
Yeah, exactly. I would absolutely, and also, what is the new norm? I think there's a general consensus that the way of working before is going to change, either significantly or at least a very little bit. So I'd love to see what people's new norm is, and hear some feedback on that.
Yeah, good stuff.
And also, let's see if people actually do listen till the end. The first person to send me or Sam a message when they've got to this point wins 20 quid. Let's see how many people are actually listening to the end. So thanks for listening. If you have got this far, and you've probably won 20 quid, Mum. So thanks for listening, Mum. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you.